since the election of 2023, very many persons had expected certain activities from the party, and they didn't get those activities. Meetings were not held. People expected that certain persons who were perceived to have acted against the party, anti-party, for instance, should have been identified and sanctioned, which had not taken place. And so the coming together for the next meeting was filled with a lot of expectations. And when PDP chose to allow time to take care of situations, given the fragility of our situation after the 2023 general elections, that PDP lost very badly, it became obvious that we must make room for circumspection. We must make room for sober reflection. Where did we get it wrong? I think that was more paramount at the first meeting after the elections than leadership change. And of course, we all know that there are no angels somewhere that are coming to preside over the affairs of the party. And so we must take our time to fix the problem of the party. Of specific reference, for instance, was the issue of the Imo State that you are talking about, the issue of the Southeast that we are talking about. There is this peculiarity with the problem of Imo State. The issue of the National Secretary, who apparently resigned to go and contest election, who after losing an election came back to assume his position as National Secretary. It didn't sit well with so many persons, especially those who lost elections to him, especially in the primaries. But the dilemma of the party that people have failed to perceive and appreciate is the fact that the PDP has a provision for dual appointments, for dual positions, persons occupying dual positions. And it simply says, these following persons cannot hold the party position and other positions. And they were listed: the president, the vice president, the governor, the deputy governor, the secretary to the government, and party chairman, party this and party that. But with a caveat. That is, when such persons assume those positions. So until you assume the position of a minister, until you assume the position of a SGF, until you become a president of the country, vice president, governor, if you are holding a party position, you have not offended the constitution of the party if you still remain in office. And so that is the position that was taken. And so if you feel so aggrieved by that seeming dilemma or crossroad, then the best thing to do is to amend the constitution to clearly state what happens if you are a party officer and you want to resign or you want to go and contest election. And that is why I feel that it was okay that the party now has resuscitated the Constitution Review Committee headed by the former governor of Akwa Ibom State to continue its work and review the Constitution and present a recommendation or a report in the next meeting. And so if you're a real party person, you must wait. You must be patient for all these things to take their places. For instance, the moribund Reconciliation and Disciplinary Committee was resuscitated and reconstituted, and to be headed by Dr. Bukola Saraki, the former president of the Senate. And it is expected that, yes, if you feel so strongly about certain anti-party activities, you make reports to the committee. The committee invites relevant stakeholders and the rest of them, or persons that have been involved in anti-party or presumed anti-party and the rest of them, and their recommendations are made to the neck for appropriate action. Don't forget that the PDP, like all parties, is a voluntary organization. It is not quite strange, really. If you have been following the political history of Nigeria, it is not quite strange that certain persons at certain points will decide to leave their original party and go to another party. It is, of course, not good. It's not healthy for democracy. But that is a reality. And so people move from APC to PDP to SDP to NMPP and the rest of them. People move from NMPP, from SDP to PDP to APC. It's been happening here. That is a factor that is responsible for the instability of party management and organization in Nigeria, which we must try to address if we must deepen democracy and party management. But let me say this, that much of the problems are imaginary and in the minds of journalists. I want to dare say, let me tell you something. I said in one of my outings that the outcome of the PDP neck was neither victory for the camp of Wike, the former governor of Rivers, or the camp of the former vice president. And various outlets, journalist outlets, went to town with sensational headlines, one of which was, finally, the former governor of Rivers State had been told to shut up. And they attributed it to me. And with an other plethora of headlines from one interview. And I dare say that there are some persons who think that the PDP should not survive. Because how can you, for instance, conclude that the camp of the former vice president is withdrawn? I supported the vice president in the last election. So who can be more in that camp than me? But I'm not aggrieved. I feel satisfied with the outcome. Because the vice president is also a party person who looks up to the future. And the PDP won't have any future if it broke in the last NEC meeting. I'm not sure that the vice president would love that. You are talking about the immediacy. You are saying something must happen now. And in the wisdom, the collective wisdom of party people, say, hey, let's tally a little bit. Let's exercise some restraints. This thing has been here with us since 2023, right? So who says that if you don't change Namagun at the 98th meeting, NEC meeting of PDP, PDP is not PDP. Namagun has been acting. And for those who are saying all those things, they don't have even an idea of the constitution of the party. Section 35C of this constitution says that in the absence of the chairman or any relevant officer of the party, the deputy acts in that capacity, in this case of national chairman. It didn't provide for term. It didn't provide for the deputy who act for 2 months, who act for 3 months. But again, that section says without prejudice to section 47(6), which says that where a vacancy occurs in that type of situation, somebody from that area or zone should be picked to act out the tenure of the person who had left the office. And so I don't therefore see anything fantastic about saying we have lined up a few activities, let's conduct those activities. We have had challenges arising from the 2023 election, let us at least, first of all, address these challenges. When somebody says, for instance, that it's like the decision that I was taking was like pouring water on a dry surface, they do not know that abruptly changing leadership, and we're talking about chairman here, they do not think that just coming to the meeting with those hypes and expectations that picking a new chairman and dumping the old chairman without any proper arrangement is like putting bandage on an open wound. It won't heal. So Nigerians should appreciate the fact that PDP was at a crossroads, and therefore we had this responsibility of successfully navigating the terrain to have some level of safe landing, which is exactly what happened. I was in the National Caucus meeting, I was in the BOT meeting, and I was in the NEC meeting. And I can tell you that from the entrance of members to the meeting, to the end of each level of that meeting, the address and conclusions reached doused all the tension that built up to the meetings. And by the time the NEC meeting, the third level of the meeting ended, all party members went out of the meeting smiling. Of course, no one was under any illusion that the outcome of that meeting will be satisfactory to 100% of members of the party. No. Those who had expected that they were going to be chairman that day will feel a little bad that it didn't happen. There's no doubt about it. Along with that, there are supporters. Specifically referring to the Imo situation, and generally on the Southeast, like I was saying. The acting national chairman said that arising from that meeting that we are going to fix time and place for the Southeast situation, and Imo in particular, to be addressed. And so if it is not a premeditated arrangement, why will a real party person now feel angered a few days after that meeting with that assurance, now say, I'm leaving the party? I think it is not a correct decision that they have made. But you can be sure, like I said, the reality of the Nigerian political situation is that soldier go, soldier come. Barak remain the same. Today you find some people in APC, they come back to PDP. Tomorrow you find them in PDP, and then next day they are in APC. Of course, I have always come to this conclusion that there are politicians and there are politicians. But the more predominant phenomenon of the Nigerian political situation is that there are food is ready politicians. They always want to be on the comfort zone, in the comfort zone.